Jeepers Superman, we're coming up on the grave of Jack Larson, who played the part of Jimmy Olsen in The Adventures of Superman.
From its debut, The Adventures of Superman took off like a rocket.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's Superman.
Jeepers, what a light.
How about you, Jim? Show him how good you are.
Oh, no, not me. I'm no Superman.
Don't call me Chief.
Jackson, the interesting story, when he's 14 years old, he wins a state championship in bowling for his age group. He considers to become a professional bowler, but ends up going to college at Pasadena Junior College, where his professors notice that he has a special talent in writing. So he writes some plays. One of them, it turns into a musical, which he stars in, and he's discovered by Warner Brothers. He's offered the part of Jimmy Olsen in The Adventures of Superman. This is a good time for another commercial. I recently did a video on, I found George Reeves' gravesite. So be sure to check out that video. I think it's the one that I did right before this one. Hey, does anybody remember the slasher movie? I mean, it was scary to me. It came out in 1982. It was Slumber Party Massacre. Robin Stille was in that movie. And boy, it was scary.
But be on the lookout for an uninvited guest.
Please, please.
When the pizza arrives, things really start jumping. Some people may have to leave early, but others will hang around and hang around.
Courtney, you're underage. Negative. Come on, let's go.
You're not going to eat the dead guy's pizza.
I feel better already. Really, I do.
She also stars in several other movies. She's in Vampire Nights. Also a movie, Winner Takes All. She's born 2 years before Lee Harvey Oswald is shot on November 24th, 1963. Robin Stille. Beloved daughter, sister, and mother of Justin and Joshua. Our next stop is an actor from the 1930s through the 50s. We're at the famous grave location of Hollywood actor Griff Barnett. He appeared in To Each His Own, a 1946 movie. Also was in the film An Apartment for Peggy. This is a 1949 film. You know, a lot of times I've never seen these movies, but if they sound interesting, I'll try to watch them later. You can usually find them on YouTube. He usually plays a doctor or a lawyer. He played Dr. Sam Millerson in the Millerson Case, a 1947 movie.
Eva's right here in your office, Doc.
What's been going on here, Amy?
I've been waiting.
Yeah. That's a right bad wound you got, Eve. You've been waiting for what, Amy?
For you to meet this outsider, Mr. Ordway, who's to bed and board here for a spell.
Howdy.
He started to take care of Eve, but I told him he'd better wait for you.
Here's your kid, Mr. Ordway.
Thanks. Nice of you offering to help, but I reckon we can take good care of Eve ourselves.
Ain't gonna do any harm to let him help, is it? You might learn something new.
Learn something new, you say. That's what them county clinic doctors keep harping about. But I don't cotton to them highfalutin IDs. Get me a basin of water and some rags, Emmy.
Yes, Pa.
He dies in his home in El Monte, California of pneumonia on January 12th, 1958 at the age of 73. As we continue our tour here at Rose Hills, this is the Homicide Victims Memorial. We'll make a couple of stops here. We'll talk about a couple of victims. Our first one that we'll pay respects to is Marsalee Ann Nicholas. And she's buried right next to the memorial. This one's going to be kind of hard to do. Anyway, on November 30th, 1983, Marcy's ex-boyfriend contacts her and threatens to kill himself unless she comes down his house so they can talk. He was wanting to get back together with her, but she already had a new boyfriend. Her ex-boyfriend has threatened to kill her new boyfriend as well. So she dashes out the house barefoot, makes her way down 2 blocks hurriedly, goes in to his house, the ex-boyfriend. As soon as she enters the household, he shoots her in the face with a shotgun. Marcy dies 4 days later of her injuries. The ex-boyfriend, his name is Kerry Michael Conley. Believe it or not, he gets out on bail just 8 days later, where the first thing this idiot does, he stalks the family. Real genius, huh? He was seen in a grocery store following Marcy's mother around as she's buying a loaf of bread at a local grocery store. Well, eventually this leads to the state of California passing what's called Marsy's Law. You may have heard of it. This law means that victims and victims' families are protected from the defendant or defendants. The ex-boyfriend dies in prison from a heart infection caused by diabetes. Marsy's Law is still in effect today. Our next stop here in Whittier, California is one of the earliest known cases of the battered wife syndrome. We're at the grave location of Norman Harold Sellers. Norman Sellers was an extremely abusive man who beat his wife on a regular basis. His wife Cheryl Sellers shoots and kills her husband after he beat her and threatened to kill her child from her first marriage. Cheryl is convicted of murder and sent to prison. And after 20 years, the California Parole Board frees her, recommends her parole. This was approved by Governor Gray Davis, so she's free at last. We're at the grave of Mickey and Trudy Thompson. Mickey Thompson is well known in the racing circles, developing race cars sponsor, Indy cars and such. In the early 60s, he sets the world land speed record going at 406.6 miles per hour. Today you can still find Mickey Thompson high performance race tires. So what happens? You notice they both died in 1988. So the story is Mickey Thompson had a business partner. They had a falling out. Mickey wins a lawsuit settlement of $768,000. The old business partner stated to colleagues that somebody needs to murder Mickey and his wife. And he also made comments that he can get by with it too. So he hires two bad guys to ambush the Thompsons. And they shoot Mickey first. He doesn't die right away. So sadly, he witnesses the death of his wife. She shot as well. Then the bad guys came back and shot Mickey one more time in the head. This is 1988. The business partner was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder, and he's serving time in prison as we speak. The two hit men have never been found. They escaped on bicycles. One of the bikes were found, but both hit men are still on the loose.
The grisly killings happened here in the Thompsons' driveway, gunshots shattering the early morning silence of this exclusive neighborhood in Los Angeles.
It was an assassination type thing. They didn't rob him, they didn't take anything, they just killed him. And the neighbors heard them Mickey yelling, "Don't hurt my wife, don't hurt my wife."
She had fallen and she had her hands up. And she was saying, "Please, please, no, no." And they didn't stop.
The family next door, awakened by gunfire, watched it all in horror.
Mickey saw that and he was still alive. And then they killed him too.
The gunmen escaped on bicycles.
You know, that would make a pretty good YouTube video in itself. I might do some research and look into it a little deeper. This next one was fairly easy to find because I saw the white headstone or gravestone from the road. This is David and Sherry McDonald. Dave McDonald is a Indy race car driver. He loses his life in 1964 during a race. So the story is he's driving one of Mickey Thompson's design. Mickey Thompson designed an extra large fuel tank, actually about 80 gallons, you know, for a competitive edge. So Dave's doing really well in the time trials at the Indy 500. And he wanted to win the race naturally, but he confided in friends that he just didn't like the way the car handled because of the excessive fuel tank. It kind of threw the weight and balance off. So on the fourth turn, he loses control, hits a wall. His car is engulfed in flames, injuring some other drivers as well. I think Johnny Rutherford was one of them. A couple days later, Dave McDonald dies because he inhaled flames and fumes, had damaged lungs. Looks like the wife is into racing too. That would be a successful marriage. As I was looking around the cemetery for other famous graves, I recognized the name of a bad guy. This guy's a murderer and a real sicko. His name is John Spinkelink. He's a drifter from here in California, heading out to Florida. He's got this roommate. He ends up shooting his roommate in the back, and then sexually molesting him. A real sicko. He's also the first person to be put to death once the death penalty was reinstated in Florida. They executed him back in 1979. You might recognize the name. I think Gary Gilmore was the first executed in Utah once Utah reinstated the death penalty too. We go from a bad guy to a good guy. We're at the grave of John St. John. He served on the Los Angeles Police Department for 51 years. 41 as a detective. He wore badge number 1. Gets a nickname Jigsaw because of his ability to solve high-profile crimes. His first case was the Black Dahlia. He worked off and on that case until his retirement in 1993. He solves the freeway killings case. Gets national recognition for that. Wins many awards throughout his career with the Los Angeles Police Department. John St. John. Wouldn't it be great if he could solve, or could have solved, the Black Dahlia case? But I got a pretty good idea who killed her. I knew I need to put a video together. Elizabeth Short is buried, I think, Northern California, quite a distance from here. But we'll get it done one of these days.
Nguyen Cao Ky, hereafter Marshal Ky, is, to the surprise of many, North Vietnamese. He was born and educated at Hanoi, to be sure, when the area was a French province. He was educated as a flyer by the French and served in action with the French, and spent 6 months at the U.S. Air Command and Staff College at Maxwell Field in Alabama. In 1965, he became Premier of South Vietnam, and for a period of about a year, he was the fighting symbol of South Vietnamese resistance to the communist invasion from the north.
I came to politics and become premier during the most troubled period of South Vietnam. So I mean, basically, I'm not a politician. So I'm a military. So I used to be frank to myself and very frank to other people. Well, since I've been here 4 months now, the press and the people around America, I realize that they're very interested to talk with me and to know what happened during the last 10 years, 15 years, what happened in Vietnam, what the cause of the failure. And most of the time I try to be very frank with them and give them a better knowledge about war in Vietnam.